Hello and welcome to the Business Renovator. I'm happy to be here and share some insights that have had an impact on me. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works, and it looks like it's actually going to work today. So that's a marvelous thing. So what I wanted to do initially was to actually bring this on. Customer Delight 365 by my buddy Brian Monahan. He has 365 quotes, and often he adds his wisdom to it. So he's done that today. In today's, it says, the one I've selected actually, is there are three constants in life: change, choice, and principles. That's a Stephen Covey quote that Brian has in it near the end of the book, near the end of the year. But you can start this book and read it from anywhere. You don't have to go chronologically. Often I don't. And Brian's take on this is his dream is to add a fourth constant to Covey's list. And that would be, guess what? Delight. Isn't that interesting or a surprise? I suspect that if you can get your head around your plan for change, your courage for choice, and are clear on your principles, my dream will come true. There are four constants in life, according to my buddy Brian, and that is change, choice, principles, and delight. Covey and Monahan. Great advice by two wise dudes, if you ask me. Now, let me just see if I can actually share my screen and get on with the show. I was having a technical difficulty, but we have got it all sorted out. I believe. Here we go. So what I wanted to talk about today was there's an upside triangle that I've become a huge fan of. And once my screen starts sharing, which it's pretty darn close to getting there, just hang on. What's going on with technology today? There we go. It's sharing. Awesome. So I'm almost ready to share my screen, let you see what I'm thinking. But before I do that, I need to get back to the drawing board. Oh, technology is wonderful. If you could see what I'm seeing here, guys and gals, you'd be amazed. Or not. Maybe you wouldn't be. This is fun. Well, I'm having technical difficulties, but we'll get it sorted out here, I'm sure. So what I want to draw today, and I will get it drawn, but I wanted to talk about it more importantly than actually draw it, and that is there's four segments to what I found to be instrumental in moving forward in a sales journey or sales relationship. And it's had testing out in the field by my clients and my mentors' clients for many, many years and hundreds of thousands of people. And it's a combination of a few things, but the triangle is a really good understanding as to where you are in relationship to where your prospect and customer client patients are. And if you're too far ahead or if you haven't built up the relationship properly or effectively. So let me try sharing the screen one more time and get this going. So the four areas are divided. If you take 100% and divide it into four areas, the first area is 40%, the second area is 30%, the third area is 20%, and the last area, which is where most people put most of their emphasis, is 10%. And when you turn this process upside down, like an inverted triangle, as I mentioned in the write-up on this, you would find that if you do all of the other stuff in advance, earn the right to be of service, to get the order, to have them to commit and take their hard-earned money and give it to you. If you do that in the right order, getting the order and closing the opportunity becomes the least difficult part of the whole sales journey, sales process. And whether you're selling for commission and profit, or if you're selling your ideas to get people to follow you and do what you want them to do. So hang on, I'm just about there. I want to, here we go. Awesome. I think this is going to work now. Let's go to share the screen. So the first part of the 100% is 40%, as I mentioned before, and that 40% is actually building trust, building rapport, getting credibility. That's an important part of the puzzle. One way to wrap that all up is in building rapport. If you've got rapport and people are leaning into who you are, what you're about, then the next part is a little easier as well. So the next part is presenting. So once you've built the trust, you identified their needs and what their challenges are and where they're trying to get to and what it would mean to them if they could get there, then you can go into presenting your solution or resolution to what it is that you're trying to get done. Let's just go here to the banners. The drawing thing is not working again today, gang, but that's okay. We can push on regardless. So I had mentioned there's an inverted triangle. The inverted triangle divided into 4 sections. The first section being trust. 40% of it, the triangle, is trust. And if you spend enough time in building the trust and the rapport, then you're starting to earn the right to get to the next component of that, which is identifying their needs, both personally and professionally, perhaps in their family, could be health, could be all sorts of things. Then once you understand that and peel back the onion to get to the core, then you get to be able to, as I mentioned earlier, get to the next part, which is presentation. And presentation is 20% of the process. So if you add that up, the heavy lifting, rapport and needs, is 70% of the whole journey of the sales process. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, it's not quick often. It's depending on the size of what your proposition is, it could take months or years. Like one of my clients I've been working towards doing more service for them has been a relationship for 8 years. In the first couple of years, there was no financial transaction that happened. What there was, though, was the building of the trust and rapport and the understanding of where they were at and what they were trying to do with their business. What were the constraints they were facing, and what were some of the ways we could resolve that? And once we understood what those were, what were the solutions we could provide them? That was in the first 2.5, 3 years before we had any opportunity to provide them any services, coaching or training or assessments. Nothing happened until we did that. And it reminds me of a story about bamboo. Bamboo takes, I don't know if you knew this or not, you throw the seed of the bamboo into the ground underwater, you don't see anything apparently for 2 years. 2 years. So this opportunity I'm sharing with you is kind of like bamboo. Although other people have told me there's a derogatory side to bamboo, but that's not relevant to this story. So larger opportunities take more effort, more time, and more people involved. The larger the organization that you're leading and wanting to serve, the more people there are involved, and everybody has their own perception of what's important and what's important to them, what's important to their area, both professionally and personally. So a mentor coach of mine in the early 80s, pardon me, 90s, we had them come in and they did a presentation to us. And in that presentation, they suggested to be like a tourist looking for directions. And the example he gave of that was that he actually was going after large opportunities, large companies, because what he found, and what I believe to be true as well, is if you only change one person, the change doesn't last, doesn't permeate throughout the whole corporation. So if you're working with a larger organization, association, corporation, there's going to be many people, many pieces within that organization that create the mechanism to make things happen. So you need to understand what's important to every aspect of that. So this particular mentor suggested that we be like tourists looking for directions. Even if we knew how to get around the place we're at, still ask directions to find out some different insights. Maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's another issue that shows up. So if you're talking to the executive level of an organization, the CEO, the president, chief operating officer, CFO, and people like that, they all have their own goals and aspirations and constraints, perceived or real. It doesn't matter. They all have them. And when you peel back the onion to get to the core of that, then you're really building the trust and rapport, which is the first part, combined with the second part, which is identifying their needs. And once you get all of that from all of those people, then you can make a presentation to all of them and deal with all of the things you've peeled back to be able to show that you do have the resolution to the challenges that you've uncovered that they've told you they had. And if you've done that, guess what? The next step is this. Look at this. Well, I didn't create one, so I'm going to create one. It's actually 10% is the close. Let's make that one so we have it in the video here. If anybody who's watching this later and wants to remember what these are, and they're right here. So the last part, if you've done all of that other stuff, then closing is 10%. And often what I've found is when I've really listened to people and really peeled back what's important to them and really dug deep to understand what's going on as best I can with the questions I ask and the information they share, they often close the opportunity to process them themselves. They'll ask me, how do we get started? Can we still do this on Tuesdays at this time? What's the investment, right? How do we pay you? Those become the natural flow for me and those that I've trained in this method to get to where they want to get to, which is to have a new client, provide a new service, or provide an old service to a new client, or to revitalize something within the organization. Maybe they've added people in the company. Maybe your organization isn't as big as the one that I've portrayed here in the examples, but the 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% works 80% of the time, because nothing works 100% of the time, anytime, ever. So that was my nugget today that I wanted to share with you. There is a component that adds to the rapport, and that's really understanding the behavioral sciences. And behavioral sciences is that I'm thinking of, one of the key assessments and aspects to that is actually DISC. And within DISC, they identify 4 behavioral styles, not personalities, but behavioral styles. And that's, are they open or guarded, fast or slow? And when you know the 2 major aspects of that, whether they're fast, slow, open, or guarded, what ends up happening is that you can get to the rapport part and save a lot of time, because you can start communicating to them utilizing the platinum rule. I'm pretty sure that people watching this today or in the replay know what the golden rule is. And the golden rule is do unto others the way you prefer to be done unto. And in most circumstances, if you want to be a liked person, that's not a bad philosophy. However, if you want to be a highly efficacious leader, then that's not the best strategy for you. What I encourage you to think about is the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is do unto others as they prefer to be done unto. So you treat them the way they like to be treated. If they're a fast-moving, highly energetic, but hold their cards close to them, they're direct. They don't want to talk about the weather or the sports or anything like that, probably, as much as somebody who's open and fast-paced. They'll talk about the weather and parties and what's going on sports teams and individuals. They're more people-centric. The first one's more task-oriented or yeah, that's best. Task-oriented. Let's just leave it at that, not complicated. So dealing with those two different behavioral styles makes a huge difference in how quickly, and if at all possible, you can build rapport. Here's an example. I wanted to talk to a former bronze Olympic medalist in my local marketplace because he was doing some coaching and teaching, and I thought he would be a good addition to a faculty of an organization I was representing. There was no commission in it for me. There was a connection of his knowledge and experience to be shared with the world via this platform that I wanted to see if I could get him to be a faculty member on. So I got the introduction. I found somebody who could introduce me. Made that happen. And then when I went there, fast forward to his house, he opened the door and he's like meeting me at the door and he's talking to somebody on his phone. He invites me in. He was working out of his home, invited me in, and he's talking. And I was there early because if you get there, not super early, but 5 minutes early, I interrupted his call. I get that. But he went on and on and on past the starting point of our appointment. And where I messed up at the beginning was I started talking to him about the weather and how nice things are and was kind of too social. If I had been listening to the way he was using the phone and how he brought me in and paid attention to that sooner, the report would have happened much faster. Fortunately enough for me that I was able to adjust, was able to be flexible and adaptable because I've learned and was learning how to leverage the behavioral sciences side of communications. And in that process, what ended up happening for me was when he was on the phone talking and then he put it down and I did my niceties, he said, you know what, Phil, I've only got 10 minutes. Let's get to the point. Why are you here? So I raised up my level of speed in communicating with him. And I says, well, I don't have a lot of time either. And I have an idea that I thought would really benefit you and the people in the Canadian marketplace and perhaps even the globe. And what I wanted to do is to find out if it was a fit and if I could position you to be there so that we could expand your reach and get you more clients and have more impact. Well, I didn't get 10 minutes. 2 hours later, I left. And he was so excited about the idea and what he could do and leverage this platform that he'd forgotten that I talked about the weather. And once we got to that other side and the social bond happened, we were able to communicate socially and talk about the weather and different sports. But not at the first part when he just first met me. I needed to be more D-like under the DISC format. I need to be more direct to talk to him. And as a result of that, we moved forward and created a really strong relationship. And I didn't leave 10 minutes later, like he said, with my tail between my legs. So in what I teach and coach and share with the people that I care about and the clients I serve, is there these kind of things. If you have any questions about anything that I've said today, or if you think this is relevant for somebody, barring the technology, warn them at the beginning of this, the technology didn't work. Phil's still got to work on that to make sure that it works before he pushes the button. But other than that, if you found value in this and you want to push it out there and share this with anybody else, invite them to come to Facebook and have a look at this. Go to YouTube and look at my channel and find it there. Or you can go to my website, Coach Phil, and go check my blog. This will be up there later this week, and they can go find it there. And if you know of anybody who would like to be a guest to be on here, I do have guests periodically throughout the week, and I'm looking for some interesting people in the world of business, entrepreneurialism, and any other cool things around that. My 3 favorite topics are sales, marketing, and mindset. And again, if you have a question or a concern, an idea that you want to have expressed via this modality, hey, again, send me an email, phil@coachphil.ca. I'd be happy to have a listen, have a read, have a conversation. Let's have a virtual coffee. I'm going to see who's here and who's commenting. Look at that. It's Ron Goodwin. Man, I saw this new t-shirt thing that he's working on, or he put up. I don't know if the actual t-shirt is made, but it was, who came up with those percentages? Brian Tracy. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. Brian Tracy was where I was taught that by. Great question too, Ron. Very great question. And for those who don't know Brian Tracy, that's not uncommon. I mean, as we move further away from the 70s, 80s, et cetera. I first met Brian in the 80s and went through the Phoenix Seminar, which is a change your life kind of approach to training, and probably one of the first ones, early ones that I participated in. And the idea was behind the Phoenix, the name of the seminar being the Phoenix Seminar, was rising from the ashes and redeveloping yourself into something else. And so I'm actually a certified Brian Tracy business coach, facilitator, trainer, and train the trainer. That's a lot of trains, right? And we now have a program that's morphed in. It went from the Phoenix Seminar to Psychology of Achievement. Then he wrote a book called Maximum Achievement, which is based on those principles of the psychology of achievement. And then it morphed into what we call it now is Perform at Your Best. But essentially, it's the same content modernized. And when I do my training for individuals and their salespeople, I use a lot of the Perform at Your Best components and ideas and information, because what I found, it's the foundational thing. I can teach it and do teach sales training programs, but I'm not a big fan of just teaching a sales program without making sure that the attitudinal mindset has shifted as well. I've been through many training programs. I have a couple of favorites, and I've combined a couple of favorites that have worked really well for me. And I've learned from the ones that I didn't really enjoy, didn't find a lot of benefit. Like one of my trainers was delivering some training. We were in California. Where were we? Del Mar, California, taking a certification program with Brian Tracy and one of his partners. And what they shared with us is that often if you go to a half-day seminar, one-day seminar, feels great. Even a weekend seminar feels great. You're with like-minded people. You're excited, enthusiastic. And then you go home. And when you go home, you're somewhat still excited, but life shows up, and the things that you were doing before start to show up, and we start to go back into our own habitual automatic thinking. The hot tub needs to be looked after. The hot tub needs to have the water heated. The hot tub needs to have the chemicals changed. Well, metaphorically, it's much the same when we're going through any change training. Often that another mentor of mine taught us that there's 2 ways that change happens. Impact, which is, heart attack, health issue, financial loss of love, those kind of things. That jars our preserves. Think about what that means. And if you know what that means, send me your answer. This kind of stuff jars your preserves. There's 2 actual meanings it could have. Let me know what you think they are. And the other way, which is much more palatable in terms of being able to make a change happen, and that's constant space repetition. So developing your skill set by doing it on a regular basis helps you become more proficient. And if you're more proficient, then you start doing things at an unconscious, habitual level. I just did a post this morning around that same topic, put it in Facebook, and something's going goofy here. I can't see the screen. Hope you guys can still see me. There we are, I'm back. Whew, that was scary. I had the Black Death screens. I was thinking maybe I've been talking too long, and that could be true. But change happens more easily and more permanently if you constantly are doing something. Repetition is the mother of change. I don't know if that's a real quote, but I made it up. Repetition, though, is real. As you repeat, it becomes etched into the neurons of your brain and your mind, and it becomes second nature, just like you. And we can do that in any area of our life. That's why my 3 areas that I talk about on my live streams are all around sales, marketing, and mindset. Nothing changes until we change our mind. That's the mindset part. So constant spaced repetition. That's what I've got today, and I'm excited about how technology is testing me. If you guys could see things from this side, you'd be laughing, maybe. Laughing harder. I'm going to read Ron's, if you don't know Brian, you probably don't know. Oh, that's funny. That's pretty good. I love that. If you don't know Brian, you probably don't know Dick. Dick Tracy, yeah. And actually, one of the things that Dick Tracy was famous for is actually here today. It's been around for a while. I don't have one, but the smartphone manufacturers, there's 2. There's a Droid version and there's an Apple version. And you can pretty much do everything I think Dick Tracy was talking about. That's funny, Dick Tracy. Ron, we need to have a virtual coffee meeting, I think, or something. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, if you found this interesting, push it out there. Tell other people about it. I'll be around again the rest more this week. And I'm going to practice and make sure the technology does what it's supposed to do when I want it to do it. And getting close to Christmas. But don't let being a good person only happen during Christmas. Be a good person all year. And you could be an ongoing virtual Santa Claus. Anyway, we'll talk to you later.